Hi guys, and welcome back to the final segment of the PowerPoint on Thomas Aquinas. I will make this completed PowerPoint available for you so that you can have all of this together in one location. So we have covered all of the causes, motion, cause, necessity, degree, and design. And so now we have to tackle one last problem. That his arguments are going to bring about some complications for theology in general. All right. And so if we're looking, we have this idea of chance, and it eventually is going to bring about this problem of evil. So if we're looking at chance first, if God is the wise and good first cause, it follows that God wills everything that happens, including the existence of each individual. Nothing occurs by chance. Okay. So chance is merely the name we give to events that occur in a way that is unclear or unknown to us. So our argument so far is that if we are adhering to Thomas's principles, that there is no such thing as chance because everything has been willed by God. And that if we don't understand the way it happens, it's because it's unclear to us. We can't possibly comprehend. So it follows then that because of God's foreknowledge and the fact that God causes everything to happen, that every event must occur exactly as it does. Okay. So you can kind of see how this is going to give rise to other problems. So if something bad happens, and must occur exactly as it did because there is no such thing as chance and God has willed it to be this way. If somebody murders somebody, then it was meant to happen because there is no such thing as chance, because God is all foreseeing and all knowing, and he wanted this to happen. So that kind of brings us to this question of the problem of evil. So if God can prevent the suffering of the innocent, but he chooses not to, then he is not good. Okay. If God chooses to prevent suffering but cannot, then God is not omnipotent. He doesn't know everything. Or if God cannot recognize the suffering of the innocent, then God is not wise. So we have this problem that if evil or suffering, you can swap out suffering and evil, sort of here. Like if he chooses not to do anything about it, then he's not good. If he can't, then he's not really all powerful. And then if he can, but he can't recognize that it is evil or suffering, then he's not wise. And so Thomas has already made this argument that God is good and omnipotent and wise, yet this idea of nothing being by chance and there being suffering and evil and all of this stuff would imply that he cannot possibly be all three of these things at the same time. So while trying to answer one question, Thomas has kind of brought about more questions that have to be addressed, and he does address these. So he's going to respond, and that if God willed the universe, he reasons that God willed the universe in order to communicate his love and his essence, in order to multiply himself. So basically the universe and everything within it was created as a reflection of God's love, okay? Not some like freak experiment or whatever you want to call it. It is a reflection of love. Evil is not a positive created unity. It is a lack of goodness, which he's going to call privation. And as such, it's not creatable. So thinking back to our argument on degrees, so that bottom degree is going to kind of be the absence of the best thing. And so because God has created the universe as a reflection of his love, obviously those paragons are going to be what he created. The absence, however, is a lack of these things, or, evil is a lack of goodness, which can't, because it is a lack of something, it is not created, if that makes sense. So like God is creating everything in love and wants the best, and so by default you're going to have this like the other end, which is an absence of goodness. Okay. Evil is going to be a necessary byproduct of free will. Okay. No one can deliberately will evil or do evil who fully recognizes it as evil. So it's kind of one of those, like, you might have like a bad thought. I don't know, like, the ones where you're like, oh, I wonder if I could get away with murder, or I wonder if I could do, steal candy from the store or whatever. You won't deliberately do evil if you recognize it to be evil. Okay. And so to lack goodness Thomas is going to say to lack goodness is what is truly evil. So what stops you from murdering somebody or from taking candy or for being bad is that your goodness steps in the way. If you lack that goodness, that is what makes you evil. So even if the person uses the word evil to describe an action, it's misperceived as being something desirable, something good. So essentially what it's saying is like you might do something that is called evil, but it is because it is being misperceived as you're doing something good or it is desired. So essentially you've misunderstood the idea of goodness is what it is. So his example is an adulterer or somebody who's cheating is not consciously willing a sin or evil, right? It's not like they're like, I know that cheating on my spouse is good, so I'm going to do that. Or I know that cheating on my spouse is not good, so I'm going to do that. I know it's a sin, so I'll do it. No, but in that instance, they are seeking something that they believe to be good, whether that's love, pleasure, a connection, whatever that is. The evil here is that the way in which they seek this happiness is wrong. It lacks goodness, okay? So essentially, it is the way in which you are doing something that brings about evil, if that helps you make sense, okay? So no one, he says, knowingly chooses evil as evil. And this should sound vaguely familiar to you. We have come across this concept before. And this is going to be a little discussion for you on Schoology. So hold on to no one can knowingly choose evil as evil. All right? So his discussion is now it's necessary that God's goodness, which is in itself one and simple, should be manifested in many ways in his creation. Because creatures in themselves cannot attain the simplicity of God. So basically, Thomas is making this argument that God's simplicity is, or God's goodness is one, it is simple, and it's manifested throughout creation. However, creatures cannot simply attain it. It is too almost pure for us to truly understand. Thus, it is that reason for the completion of the universe, there are required diverse grades of being, of which some hold a high and some a low place in the universe. That is, that this multiformity of grades may be preserved in all things, God allows some evils, lest many good things should be hindered. Okay, so there are a variety of things that reside in our degree argument in high places and low places, and it is allowed lest it ruins goodness on the whole. So it has to be there in order to allow other good things to flourish. Okay. And it basically, the argument here is like, sometimes it just is that way, man. It'd be that way. Okay. So his final solution to this problem of evil is that though God did not deliberately will evil, so remember, universe is created as a reflection of God's love, and he did not deliberately will evil in it, he willed this very real possibility of evil in it. So the idea of free choice wanted to be maintained. So evil must always be possible when love and goodness are free choices. So because God has allowed this love and free choice into the universe, he has created this possibility of evil as well. And we just kind of have to accept that. If we want the love and the goodness, we have to accept that there is a possibility that evil could be on the other end of this token. Okay. So that is going to kind of wrap up how Thomas deals with this. Next week, I'll give you a little overview that kind of talks about his influence on future philosophies. It will go and review all of this for you guys again. If you have any questions, again, post them in our discussion that I have here. If you want to talk about anything in particular, just post it on that thread as well and let me know. I will post this PowerPoint for you guys on Schoology under our Thursday folder. And with that, we have concluded our little dive into Thomas Aquinas.